SuperWorldApp.com, and I'm here with the amazing architect Michael Potts, who is an amazing AR, VR architect and engineer, and also an avid collector of land here in SuperWorld. So, Mike, how are you doing today? How about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Just finished the 3-day AWE event out here at Santa Clara. And a little bit of background, I've been working with VR and AR for 26 years. I teach a class at UCLA on XR world building, and I own a company that produces virtual reality, augmented reality, metaverse experiences for brands and companies and sports teams and stuff like that.
That's amazing. We're going to get into a lot of awesome details tonight. Make sure you guys are tuning in and answering your questions. We also have an awesome prize draw at the end, so make sure you stay tuned. And Michael is in the airport, so he's going to try to mute, in case, he has a lot of that loud noise in the background. So just giving everybody a heads up. Michael, how did you first hear about SuperWorld?
Yeah, the first time I heard about SuperWorld, a friend of mine, Krista Kim, who I think is an ambassador to your program, she hired me to take one of her NFT spaces, the Mars House, and bring it into a platform called Spatial. And we kind of became friends and hit it off. And we were talking, and she was mentioning SuperWorld, and I was intrigued by it. And I asked her, I'm like, well, are you an owner? And she said, yeah, I own 31. I own 31, plots. And I thought, oh, well, if you're serious about it, if you have some stuff, I'm going to go buy some as well. So I started off and kind of came up with a couple different strategies and started buying, within the next few days.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so that's really what clicked for you, was you already really knew Krista, and obviously you probably trusted her, and she was already invested and interested in this, and that was kind of enough for you to just dive right in. Did you do more research? Did you check out anybody on the team first, or anything like that at all first?
Yeah, I read a little bit background on Hrish and what he was doing, and the concept made sense to me. And because I've been working with AR hard since 2016, and I really like the concept, and I recognize that there's still some work that has to be done here, both in the hardware, the software, and everything. But the idea behind SuperWorld really intrigued me, and I could visualize what was possible. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to miss this one. I missed buying, domains. I missed getting on the Bitcoin early. Although I had Bitcoin early, I sold it too early. So I thought, you know what, I want to make sure I do an investment here so I don't miss this opportunity while there's still interesting plots around the world to get. So that's sort of I did homework for maybe a couple of days, and I started buying.
Okay. So diving into your virtual real estate collection, I guess, how many land plots do you own? What was your first plot? What's your favorite plot?
Yeah. Okay. So I think I own 105. I could be wrong, but I think that's the right number. Last time I bought it, it said congratulations on number 105. So I think that's correct. But if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I know it's over 70 something. So the first plot I bought was a piece near my house. Actually, because I know I can create AR content, and I've been doing it for 7 years, I figured, well, I'd like to have some piece of property nearby so I can put and test the actual AR, like sculptures or art pieces or just concepts nearby. So I found a piece of land that was, let's say, I don't know, 15, 20 blocks away from my house. And it's where a park is going to be built. It's actually, right now it's a highway, but it's going through the process of being transformed into a park over a highway. So that was the first piece I bought. And then probably my favorite piece is I own a little piece of land at the center of Vail Resorts, right there where the ski lifts take off and there's a plaza. And I've already received multiple offers on that piece of land. So I know, I'm like, that piece of land is probably a good spot. And I've actually bought up a number of pieces of land around it, because when you start seeing multiple offers on something from different people, you get the sense that, okay, there's probably some value here.
That's awesome. There's a lot of insights in there, what we just said. And I know we definitely wanted to, discuss about, real estate development and urban development, projects, which is definitely a part of your strategy. I'm definitely surprised to hear that it was actually your first plot, even locally in your town. How about we talk a little bit more about that strategy? Why did you choose that strategy? How did you come up with that? And you know, especially for your first plot, like how long were you thinking about this before you actually pulled the trigger?
Not very long. I mean, I think maybe I just sort of give it some thought and said, I think at the time it was maybe $350, $400 with Ethereum. And I'm like, that seems like reasonable to give this a shot. And I will say, once you start buying, sometimes it kind of gets a little bit addictive. You're like, oh, I want more. What else? Where else should I go? What other interesting plots are there? But yeah, what happened here is that I've had some some experience as an architectural visualization person. I have a degree in architecture, but working with the different parks around the city of Dallas, knowing some of these projects that are coming online, I figured the technology still has a little bit of time to mature. So why don't I start looking at properties that will be valuable or that will be very, very visited very often in 2, 3, 4 years. So that's kind of the play that I did. And I did that at really 4 parks in Dallas, Medal of Honor Museum, that particular park, another park in Dallas that sees a lot of stuff. But I've also done that in other locations like Kansas City, where the new airport's going to be coming in, and a few other places where I know some construction is coming online and that it's still a few years out. So I thought I'll go ahead and buy the land right now that seems like it's nothing, or there's nothing special going on with it, because I know that in a year or 2 or 3 there'll be a brand new multi-billion-dollar airport or a multi-billion-dollar convention center, and just kind of trying to play my game that way.
I find that really interesting, I really do. And so I'm not sure how much you want to share, but how would you instruct others to go about this research? How do you go and find these projects?
Well, for me, I don't know that I research so much as I just aware of the actual projects by reading a newspaper or seeing an article. And in a couple of these cases, I was involved with them, right? I was actually involved in the, for example, one in Dallas is called the Clyde Warren Park. I've been involved with that project for the last 15 years, and they just recently made a major investment to expand it and build out more over both sides of the highway. So there are these pieces of land that I purchased that are basically in the middle of the highway. So you wouldn't think there's anything going on there, but I know that they're in the middle of constructing these beautiful, big, gorgeous parks and these big, kind of amphitheaters and spaces like that are going to see a lot of people, tons and tons of visitors for the next few decades. And I personally prefer an outside approach. I prefer properties that are outside or in plazas or parks where lots of people are going to visit. And, Central Park's a great place too, but a lot of Central Park in New York City has been bought up. So I do have some other parks like I've got a really great spot in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco and a few other places like that.
Amazing. Wow. That's really awesome. And it's kind of interesting that you can, find this pretty easily and readily available. And you really don't even do research. You said you just kind of stay aware and this is your field as well. So I'm sure, it catches your eye more often than not. So yeah, that's really awesome. I can't wait to see, what you have planned, for some of these plots. I was also going to ask, so, I mean, what you're doing down there, I think you said in Dallas, so you're actually, your designs are already at work here. You actually have some of your own work there physically, and you bought the virtual real estate even before it's, produced.
That's correct.
So I guess I am wondering, what might be fun things you might do with this design? You might have some designs that maybe didn't make the final cut that you could add on later and let people say, hey, we almost built this. What do you guys think? Do you have something like that maybe planned?
Exactly. I mean, you hit it on the nose, and that's led me to go to purchase land in front of art museums, right? Because I'm thinking about this from the perspective of sculptures, of interactive art, AR, multimedia interactive exhibits and things like that. And so part of it is just like you described. I know that there's going to be this big giant lawn, and I could put some really cool interactive art that people with the SuperWorld app can come up there and take a look at and check it out, get their photographs with it and that kind of stuff. And there's opportunities for advertisement there and monetization and games. So that's, again, going back to why I like parks and why I like outdoor spaces. Plazas and even just spaces in front of museums. And so I bought the space in front of the Denver Art Museum, Kansas City Art Museum, San Francisco Art Museum, and a few others in Glasgow too. Whereas I'm just kind of trying to think about, well, people going to these museums will want to sometimes interact with new and kind of cutting edge art. What's a better place to do that but a big plaza out in front of it? So I have actually done a few pieces. I did one in Times Square just to kind of experiment to see if it worked. It worked really well. And I put it on the SuperWorld app. And then the next day there were like 20 other pieces of artwork right in the same spot. So I thought, well, clearly people are seeing it's a good idea to put your art in a very visible place where others can come and check it out.
That's amazing. So yeah, there's a lot of insights there too on what you're actually going to be doing there on your land plots, what your personal plans are. And I guess I'm wondering, since you do have a lot of insights being in the AR VR space for so long, I guess, what are you excited to see others do there, on your land plots in AR or VR or WebGL?
Well, I mean, that's where we get into the monetization side of this, and it gets exciting when you think about it. Are we going to rent our land or sell our land or use our land for other people to bring their stuff in? Part of the reason why I bought so many properties, I think I have about 35 or so properties around ski resorts, is I kind of want to do a combination of like interactive art, but then with advertisements as well. So like maybe there's a giant sculpture in Park City, for example. I have quite a few properties. Maybe there's a giant sculpture with like a skier, and it's really cool, maybe animated and fun, that people can come and interact with, perhaps get their picture taken with, but then potentially selling advertisements there. Like if this really cool piece of artwork, maybe there's a coupon or maybe there's a game or there's something that could go on and connect with that. So that's kind of my thinking. And then eventually, I also believe that, the resorts and properties might say, listen, we got to have that. We have to have control of that piece of land so that we can, connect our customers, bring in the stuff that we want to do. We want to be in control of it. So hopefully, this is my hope, is that these resorts and these giant art museums realize they should have got on it. They didn't. It's okay. And now they need to go ahead and get this. Now we'll see. Cross our fingers. Hopefully that happens.
Again, more great insights, and you brought up monetization, which I'm not even sure if I asked you before. Did you know that it is being turned on? At least the first switch with NFTs, is going to be turned on before the end of the month for monetization for landowners.
I'm super excited about that, and I've had some experience with NFTs. We did some stuff last year. My company made an NFT in December. It sold out in 13 minutes, made $40,000. Just did one a couple months ago. And it was an NFT of a Metaverse environment, made I think 180,000. And we're working with a company called Exclusible, which we just made a penthouse for. My company, by the way, is M2 Studio, and I also got one called Polycount.io. And the Exclusible space, they're going to sell about 1,000 or 5,000 copies, and it looks like they're going to make between $3 and $5 million in about 2 weeks off of a NFT Metaverse environment. So clearly, this is just the early stages, the ground level. But if you look at where this is all going to go down the road, especially when it comes to people in popular destinations and locations, it's exciting. It really is. And who knows how far it'll go. But I mean, I have a pretty good feeling it's going to be very successful.
That's amazing. Do you have plans to sell your own NFTs on your own virtual real estate?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I love it. I can't wait to check out, Mike. So I know you have only about 17 minutes, and we want to keep an eye on time, and definitely want to hear from the audience if there is any questions. And I also did want to make sure that I did bring up, this prize draw. So, in honor of you, Michael, we've, put this contest together, to show our love for your virtual development of, urban development or these real estate development projects that aren't even up yet in real life. So in honor of that, we've put a landing page together. You'll be able to find that on our YouTube channel. So if you are watching us on YouTube or Twitter, go to our YouTube channel. You'll see this in the description on this video after this live stream is over. And this will take you to a website where you can actually see some urban development plots in SuperWorld that are available. And if you buy one of these plots and fill out our form on that link on that webpage, you're actually going to be entered into a prize draw where 3 people are actually going to win, and some actual virtual real estate on top of the purchase of this real estate development land plot in SuperWorld. So wanted to share that. Make sure you enter into the prize draw and grab up some awesome, underdeveloped properties. And we also have another contest. So if you're, this is a 2-in-1 basically for you guys. Doesn't necessarily have to be for this type of theme of real estate development. Basically just tweet us, message us on actually any social media platform, and tell us what you're excited about, for your virtual real estate. Tell us why you bought maybe a particular plot or what you're thinking, and you can actually be entered into another contest to actually win 2 plots of virtual real estate. And I think that will be ending maybe at the end of the month. I'm not really sure. So enter into that first. Tweet us right now and tell us what you're thinking about and why you're excited about a particular land plot. Let's get back into some of the exciting stuff, Michael. You say you were just at AWE. What exciting insights did you see there this week? Share.
Okay, well, one of the most exciting things I heard was from the Unity, one of the top executives from Unity, and he just said, and 2% of the websites right now in the world are 3D. But if you look at where this is going to be in about the next 7-8 years, about 98% or almost all of the websites in the world will be switching to 3D. And I think that carries over to VR and AR as well. So I think, we're looking at a world that's about to go through a major transformation, and we're at the early stages, and it's going to be an exciting, next 5-7 years. I realize there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but still, we will be making this transition, whether or not we want to or not, because it is just it's the direction, the next step for technology. And AR is huge, and the technology, the hardware, the glasses that are out there right now, they're getting better. They're better. I've been working with them since 2016. I think next week we're supposed to hear more from Apple about their glasses. Maybe we'll see them. Maybe it'll be later this year. But the kind of the consensus from the industry experts that I talk to is that when the Apple glasses come out, this is when we're going to start to see the adoption really crank up. Now, it might take a few more years to really get to the point where the saturation in the industry is big. But the idea here is that eventually, just like we're carrying around a phone all the time, within the next 3 to 6 years, we're not going to be carrying around a phone anymore. We're going to be carrying maybe something in our pocket that's going to drive the glasses, but we're going to be wearing glasses, and glasses are how we're going to communicate with each other, how we're going to read information, how we're going to get our instructions or directions, and it's going to be basically how we're going to interact with the world with a higher layer of information. And this is why, truthfully, SuperWorld could be one of the biggest, most important apps in the world. And this is one of the reasons why I get behind it, because I think if we can increase the owner base, and we have a lot of ownership, and we don't have to fill it up, but we have a lot of ownership here. We reach critical mass on SuperWorld. This will be the de facto places that companies want to advertise, places where people want to go play games, pieces for cool art, and just communication. So I think I'm not saying it's for sure, but it'd be a fantastic thing. There are a couple things that still have to happen. We have to get to where you can actually interact on the parcel itself. So I'm working with a group called Zonal. I've mentioned it to some of the guys at SuperWorld that would allow you to be able to track when people get onto the property itself, and with they're interacting with they're on the property with the app. You'll know they're there, and you can trigger a game, trigger a prize. You can bring people in for a promotion and that kind of stuff. And I think once we get to that next level of interacting on the actual AR parcels, the monetization will shoot way up. The user base will be more excited, because essentially it becomes much more like Pokemon Go when we say, hey, I've had 1,500 people on my parcel this week. Who wants to advertise here? Who wants to put a game here? Let's do something. So that, I think, is going to drive more action in the space.
Really exciting. I echo those sentiments. We hear the same thing. Back to Apple. That's really going to set the standard. And yes, when we had so much interaction they've been doing in the Metaverse, even in real life, with AR, it's going to get really exciting. So I can't wait for the Apple glasses. I'm sure we're all at the edge of our seats. And we're going to all be in the real world Metaverse very soon. So I do want to get back to that, because you have so much wealth of knowledge that I want to dive in and give everything that you are willing to share. But we do have at least one question from the audience. Someone says, "Hi, Michael. How do you feel about adjoining parcels? A must-have, or is just one enough in some places?"
Okay, I have a strong opinion on that, and I really love that question. So there's 2 ways I look at this. One, I have put single parcels of land in certain places, and I use them kind of as tests. Like, I'm an artist, but I'm a little bit scientific as well. So my approach kind of blends between artistic and sort of a scientific approach. So I've laid out, so I guess you could almost call them bait. I don't know if I'd use the word bait, but I've laid these places out in key locations and said, these are good spots. I'm just going to buy one. Once I see action on that spot, either whether people are going to nearby the space or people are looking to buy the space I have, I then go and buy more pieces of property around that. I just kind of use that as my trigger, especially if I've seen multiple offers for the pieces I have. Now, that's one way I look at it. The other thing is, I found a piece of property that I know is going to be really hot someday, and I won't tell you where it is, but really hot. And I don't have unlimited sources of funds, so I thought, well, I want to own basically that entire area. So I, but piece by piece, just kept buying all the pieces around it. So I own the entire area because I figured if and when someone comes and wants to buy it, they're not going to want to buy just one parcel. They're going to want to buy the whole chunk. So I kind of look at it in terms of like, if I feel really, really good about something, I want to buy it all. If I'm just testing it out and not 100% sure, I'm just going to buy one parcel. I'm going to wait and see. And I think that, this is going to come down to, again, in the long run, about its utility. How is SuperWorld going to be a utility that people can see and find monetization in 3, 4, 5 years? So I don't necessarily know that an adjoining property is always going to be valuable if there's nothing you can do in it, right? If it's a garbage dump or something like that. But if an adjoining property has some real potential as a utility, totally. And then basically, I think Times Square, Central Park, the Eiffel Tower, all those pieces around there. I mean, the Eiffel Tower, if you've been there, like the whole plaza, everything around there is seeing tons of action all the time. So yeah, I would, if I could, I'd buy all the properties around those spaces.
Awesome. We have another question from Matt. What happens when hundreds or thousands of AR or NFTs populate a parcel? How will users sift through it all or interact? Seems like current map-based browsing could become untenable. What do you say to that?
Great question. Honestly, this is something that SuperWorld's going to have to figure out. You guys are going to have to decide, or maybe the community, maybe we create a DAO or something, but the community has to come up and say, hey, there's only going to be so many AR pieces here, or else it's going to lose its value. So I don't know what that is. Maybe there's a density issue. Maybe we say in a single parcel it's 5 or it's 2, but it's a great question. And I agree with Matt. If it becomes, just super saturated, it's not going to be successful. So we'll have to figure out what that is. But I don't think we're there yet. I think it's going to take a few more years to figure out what that density maximum needs to be.
Right, and we're waiting to see that ourselves here at SuperWorld. We hear it's going to be more of a user-based algorithmic approach. So the user will actually determine, what pops up, and then it'll be more of like a discovery news feed, I guess, where you can see all the other layers that are still there.
Well, I'd kind of like it if potentially down the road, if an owner of the land can say, hey, the only AR pieces on here that I'm going to want to be on the overall app are ones that I authorize. I think that's reasonable. If I'm gonna authorize it, then I can sell it to the top bidder. I can sell it to those people who are offering the advertisement. So I think that maybe you might eventually want to let the owner of the land have some control or say. On the flip side, the person might say, hey, listen, I'll rent this out to all the artists who want to put their art in this space for X number of dollars, and I have some control. You guys will have to figure that out, and I hope you guys will.
We did get another question, and I want to tell everybody listening in, hey, if you have some questions, drop them in the chat where we're at, and if we get 3 or 4 more questions before Mike goes here in 8 minutes, we'll actually, why not, we'll give a plot away to one of the best questions. I'm just going to throw that out there. So our next question is from Diana. I'm not sure if this was answered already, but why buying roads? Okay, so the theme we had was, why are you buying no name roads in the metaverse? So I guess I'll let you re-explain that. It's more of a real estate development.
I'll give you the brief answer there. So we're buying land that's currently a road, that's going to be a park, it's going to be a building, there's going to be some kind of development over it. That's one of the little headaches of looking down at a map and saying, oh, there's a road there. What you may not realize is that's a sunken road, a sunken highway, and there's actually some space that's going to have a construction above it. I think you could even see that with like a sky bridge on a couple of towers or something like that. But the idea is that I'm not really worried about the road. You're right, you can't do much with the road, but there's going to be a park or a building. In case of Dallas, there's several parks that we build over highways because we're landlocked and there's only so much extra park available space. So they're literally spending billions of dollars to build parks on top of highways.
Yeah, when I think of roads, I was going to ask if there's anything that you see that, obviously when you're traveling on the road, you'll be able to have these experiences while you're traveling. But, it's kind of hard to particular, pick a specific plot. I would say exits, big exit ramps. I've been noticing those a lot lately. Not sure if you have any thoughts on that. We did have another question.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm thinking about that too much. I'm really not focused on it at the moment.
Okay, awesome. So we have a question from KPRI. Since visual blight from adjacent plots is well known, what is the solution in SuperWorld? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I understand. I think this is a combination of a question between the physical world and the digital world, and maybe that's not the question is. But I could imagine that you're saying is there a way to turn a blighted area into a more attractive area in the digital world? And I think, of course, that's the answer. And if you're talking about the idea that there's just going to be too many AR pieces and it's going to be overloaded your app, that's possible too. Again, that would go back to, I think you guys will have to solve that question and figure out what the density needs to be, or how you maybe you localize it, and if you're within one parcel, you only see the AR pieces in that parcel.
I almost wonder if they're asking about activity on adjacent parcels, and if there is none, should we stay away from it?
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah. I guess it does matter who your neighbors are, and seeing what happened with Snoop Dogg not too long ago. So we have a question from John.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Michael. What plot purchase are you currently most excited and why?
Well, I mentioned that I really love my Vale property that I bought. That seems like I've had multiple hits on it, and I bought some pieces around it, and I've seen other people buy some more pieces around it. So I feel good about that. And once I saw multiple ski resorts that I'd purchased, that there were a lot of other buyers around, I started to, when I got a little bit extra cash, I started buying as many as I thought was reasonable. I think I own like 35 parcels around the bottoms of ski resorts, either at the entrance where the tickets would be at or where people would queue up in line. I think that strategy makes sense, and I'm looking at it more from, I'll put some artwork on there, I'll have some kind of advertisements perhaps, but mostly I'm thinking that the ski resorts themselves, Vale, the big resorts, and I've got some in Canada, I've got some in Europe, that the big resorts might eventually realize that they need to have control of that, and they're going to want to buy those themselves.
100%. I think we have one last question. If you have another question, get it in now. But a question from Damien. Where are some of the best sources for learning what will be built in a city down the line?
It's a good question. I'm I have a degree in architecture, and my background is in visualization of architecture. So I have a lot of experience. I get a lot of requests. I've had for the last 2 decades, like, hey, we're going to build this in 3 years. We're going to build that. So I have a little bit of insight, but a lot of this stuff shows up in the newspaper. That if you get the local newspaper, you'll find it. Or if you look online at city, you might want to look online, like city articles from various locations, because they're going to brag about the buildings that are going to go on in their community, in their city. So we did, like, for example, in Los Angeles, we did the LA Live back in the day. We did a casino in Washington, D.C., the MGM National Harbor. We didn't design it. We did the visualization of it. So when you have that kind of insight, you usually know about 3 or 4 years. But also, those things were in the newspaper. As soon as we finished our work, it got in the newspaper. So I would say just, keep your eyes on local media.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really insightful. I didn't even realize that, so I'm going to be doing the same. Question from Tech Mental. I envision every plot of SuperWorld being utilized as future browsers of Web3 content. Are you ready to create the first AR website, Web3 site?
Yeah, totally. I love it. I agree. I think that's what we're going to see. We're building a lot of VR content right now because the devices aren't ready. And while I use the phone for a lot of our stuff, I still personally look forward to the day where we're wearing some kind of AR glasses, AR goggles.
Awesome. I'm sure you're about to board it here any minute. I'm going to try to sneak one last question in. What are you most excited about that might be coming to give some insights of what might be coming in AR and VR? What are you most excited about?
Well, I think the big question right now is we've got one more leap we have to have. There's a heat issue with the glasses. There's a battery power issue with the glasses. We have to see advancements in battery power, because ultimately the goal is that these glasses are thin, they're light, they don't take much resources. And there's a lot of work being done right now in the space. It's got to take a few more years for the technology that's being kind of created in these advanced labs and these manufacturing centers to reach the consumer. It's probably at least 3 years, 4 years before we've got a device that we like, and it might be more like 5 or 6. But we are going to see that, and when it does come, I think we're going to adopt it quicker than most people think, because VR is a different animal. Once you start to see AR, you can turn it off, wear the glasses whenever you want, and turn it on whenever you need it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Michael, it was awesome having you here today. Anything else you want to share about how we connect with you outside of here?
Reach out to me. I'll be happy to put something on your particular your land if you want. m2studio.com or polycount.io. There's a little form on both those sites to reach out and contact us, and we can build something for you. Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Awesome. We'll be taking you up on the offer, Michael. You good night. Everyone tuning in. You see you later, Mike. I know you got to go. Everyone else tuning in, you make sure you enter into the prize draw and get into that contest. Tweet us about what you're excited about a particular plot, and go to our YouTube page where this video is, and in the description there's a link to a specific website where there's some real estate development plots that are available. And when you buy one of these plots, you'll be entered into a prize draw. 3 people will be winning some extra land. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You guys enjoy the rest of the night and the weekend. And we'll see you again soon. Hopefully you guys have found value. If you have, please let us know in the comments, and let us know if you want us to do this again more frequently. I'll talk to you guys soon. Enjoy the night.